the law is not a job where you can just kind of click in, click out. You're going to have to show up day in and day out, and you're going to have to put in the work. And a positive attitude, what I mean by a positive attitude is you show up on time, you show up with a big smile, you do things that are asked of you, you don't think anything's beneath you, and you just give it 100%. So, congratulations, you have managed to climb to the top of the pile and you are now an associate at a law firm. You've gotten your first job, you got your foot through the door, you have a law degree, you have a fire and a passion, but you have literally zero experience. Today's video is about what do you do as an associate to stand out above the rest? What steps can you take to make sure that you are doing the right thing by your associates, by your partner, and by the rest of the legal fraternity? First things first, you will go through a profound transformation in your understanding, because law, if you're taught it like most of us were, is actually taught incredibly poorly for preparation for legal practice. You see, the issue with legal education is that we treat legal education like an architect designing a building, when in fact, the actual practice of law, it's really like a carpenter who's building things with their hands. It's a very hands-on type of discipline that requires you to get into the mud, look at things, understand things, know how to file things, know how to draft things. Most lawyers who've been around a while understand this, and we are very cognizant of the challenges that you will have, because you may have had some exposure to these concepts, particularly in your practical legal training, but by and large, you're not going to be equipped with the skills necessary to do the job. And that's okay. That's absolutely okay. So my first tip for your first week of legal practice is as follows. Calm down. Most lawyers, and I can speak from personal experience, have perfectionistic and neurotic tendencies. That's probably what made you go into the law in the first place. You were the kind of person who likes to argue and prove your point, and you're the kind of person who worries about things in such a way as people go, you know what, you should really be a lawyer. This mindset will doom you in law, because the law is something you will never conquer. I remember a story from my legal practice when I visited a very senior Queen's Counsel, and he was lecturing another barrister. And when I met that barrister, he too was a Queen's Counsel, just with lesser years of experience. And that's the way it goes. It's a constantly evolving profession. You will never be on top of it. I have never been on top of my paperwork since the day I commenced legal practice. That's just never going to happen. I just make my peace with the fact that I can only do my best. So the first and most important thing is calm down. Just calm down. It's going to be okay. You're not going to do anything wrong. There's a safety net. There should at least be a safety net built around you, and if there's not, that's really concerning, but it's not your problem. You are working under supervision of a partner, of more senior practitioners, and they're going to guide you on what you do. Which is the second point that you need to understand, which is be authentic, be engaged, and do what your bosses tell you to do. I cannot tell you the number of associates that I've had who are bright-eyed and bushy-tailed, and they just go off on tangents and give me what they think will really impress me. What I've actually asked for is something else. To give you an example, I once asked a junior associate, does he know what an affidavit is? And he goes, yes, I do. And I said, cool, can you help me prepare an affidavit for my client? And rather than doing that, he came back and gave me like this essay on the history of affidavits and why they're useful. He didn't give me the thing I asked for. He gave me the thing that he thought would make me impressed, when it did the exact opposite. Lawyers are incredibly time poor, and some of us are very poor communicators. We're not very good at explaining what we want. So ask, when you meant an affidavit, what kind of affidavit? Do we have a template? Is there any advice you can give? Many lawyers would be happy to spend 5 minutes explaining all of your questions so that you get the task right, rather than you going off and spending the day doing something that's useless to them. So you're going to have billable targets you're going to need to hit. Talk about those in a different video, but for now, just remember you have to do the task that the partner and associate ask you to do, not the task you think you should do. And since you have no idea what those tasks are, ask for clarification. People would be happy to give it. The third tip that I have for all young associates starting in legal practice is that you should definitely ensure that you are bringing a positive mental attitude and an attitude that you're there to learn. I cannot tell you the number of people who think that when they get the job, that's it. You're in, you're going to just stick on this and you're going to keep going. The reality is that the law is not a job where you can just kind of click in, click out. You're going to have to show up day in and day out, and you're going to have to put in the work. And a positive attitude, what I mean by a positive attitude is you show up on time, you show up with a big smile, you do things that are asked of you, you don't think anything's beneath you, and and you just give it 100%. That attitude and that energy is something that's 100% within your control. You see, your competence and your experience, that's not within your control, but your attitude is. And many people, myself included, believe you can teach skills. I've taught skills to so many fellow junior lawyers now. I've done it to dozens, but I can't teach attitude. And the translation of your legal experience or your legal knowledge to skills is the most critical part of your development in the first few years of practice. It's getting exposure to different areas. It's getting exposure to how to break a problem down and look at it through different lenses and make sure that you can solve it. It's getting practical things like, where do I file a document? How do I serve a document? How do I use the online portal? How do I draft a statement of claim? How do I draft a letter of demand? How do I do a subpoena? These are practical things that you need to learn how to do, because without your capacity to do them, it impinges upon your job as a lawyer. And your first job as a lawyer is to get that tool set of skills that will enable you to help the partners and do the things that you need to do. So positive attitude, do the job that's expected of you to do, and don't stress yourself out. If you do those three things, you're going to get through your first and second week of legal practice, no problem. And slowly but surely, you're going to see that all of us in the profession are faking it till we make it. We're doing our absolute best to cope with and deal with the complexities of life. Thank you.